Welcome, my friends, to Agile ABCs. It's a pleasure to have you here today. The purpose of our meeting is to talk about the world of Agile for a little bit. You hear the term Agile. Agile has an a B, and a C. The A is attitude. As they say, attitude is everything. It's the beginning. Attitude, right? Agile is a posture, it's a philosophy, it's a mindset. And to get into that agile zone, there should be a shift from being rigid, stick in the mud, I ain't budging, to, oh, perhaps there's a better mousetrap. So that's the attitude. It's an open attitude, it's an open mindset, right? So it starts off before it gets into this attitude, it starts off with a mindset, and then that helps form the attitude towards openness, towards nimbleness, and then that translates into behavior, right? Over time, the attitude is going to foster that behavior, an agile behavior. An agile attitude will foster an agile behavior. And as that permeates through the firm, that will then become culture. And these are the ABCs. So if you want to go through an agile transformation, start off with the mindset, start off with the philosophies, ensure that your people truly understand what agility is all about. Because I hate to say it, a lot of firms, they think they get the Jira, the Jira subscription, and they think they're agile. No, you're not. You can have a team using Jira all day, but they're the most unagile team, right? You have some folks who think, oh, all we need to do is go get safe. Well, maybe you should go check out safedelusion.com. Safe is not a magic bullet for agility. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because there's a lot more to be said about how unsafe safe is. But you can get the full download at safedelusion.com. It's a big old PDF, and it's got case studies and people who've actually been out there trying to use this thing. But I won't go into that today, because I know some folks here don't even know what safe is. So let's stick to the program, right? Attitude, behavior, culture. You want to go through that transformation, that agile transformation. It's all about the ABCs. It's not about the software. It's not about tools. It's not about some big old framework. You got to be agile in mind first. So when people ask me what agile is, I tell them it is a mindset that translates into attitudes, behaviors, and cultures to allow you to pivot to the ever changing world around you, or persevere as appropriate to the world around you. We say pivot or persevere in the world of Agile. So it starts off in the mind. The good book would say, as a man thinketh, so is he. If you're not thinking Agile, your behaviors, your actions are not going to be Agile. Now, to the Agile frontier out there who say, Phil, you can't say it's a mindset alone. I understand. I can't say it's a mindset alone. But Agile starts off, right? It starts off here, right? Starts off over here. This is where the light bulb is going to come on, and someone will say, oh, I get it. I need to be more nimble. The great Mike Tyson, he said, everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face or until they're punched in the mouth. Where's your little plan now? You're on the canvas looking up. You ain't got no plan. You got to be agile. Even Iron Mike got it, that you got to be agile. Okay. So today I'm going to show you under the hood in the world of Agile, the Agile Manifesto. The Agile Manifesto, you can get this at agilemanifesto.org. And the Agile Manifesto is writings. I call them insights. I just like looking at them as insights, illumination of mind from 17 smart individuals. And these 17 smart individuals, they spent time musing and thinking about how to create a better mousetrap. Because a mousetrap that had been used for decades, for a long time, was the predictive mousetrap. Some people would refer to it incorrectly, I must say, as waterfall. It's not waterfall. We shouldn't insult waterfall. Waterfall has feedback loops. Right? The people at Rolls Royce, when they put that together in the 50s or whenever it was, it had feedback loops. So when we say waterfall, a lot of times people, this is what they mean by waterfall. They mean just moving from one stage to the other. But there are feedback loops in the original waterfall schema, right? They are feedback loops. So we cannot say waterfall is strictly predictive. And I know that in industry, everyone, almost everyone says, oh, it's waterfall. And what they really mean is predictive. So let's get it straight. The right thing to say would be predictive. So in the world of predictive, things are often done one and then two and then three and four in quick or strict rotation without wiggle room, right? For going back and reiterating and stuff like that. So when you hear waterfall, that's really what people mean. So the Agile Manifesto authors, they had gone through that kind of world and they thought, let's put together a better mousetrap. So when you see it on the website, it's called Manifesto for Agile Software Development, but it's gone far beyond software, right? Even though those folks were well versed, they weren't just in software, but software was predominantly where a lot of them were. So it says we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. In other words, uncovering better ways of developing products. I like replacing the word software today in 2024 with the word product because the world of agile is far reaching. It's not just software, right? It's gone far beyond software into hardware, into pharmaceutical, gaming, you name it, it's everywhere, right? So they came out with a set of values, and I just call them guiding values. They just help frame one's thinking about agile. So I call them the guiding values, and they also have 12 principles. So they're four values and they're 12 principles. And honestly, all this is a way to unlock your thinking. Okay. So for the newbies who are learning about agile for the first time, I want you to think of it as a state of mind that translates into actions. And through those actions and the practices, we end up getting work done a lot smarter, a lot more efficiently, and we're nimble to respond to the change around us. That is not to say that predictive is bad, because predictive often gets a bad rap and it's demonized. And that is not smart, right? There's nothing wrong with predictive up to a point. If you're trying to force the predictive peg into an agile hole, then you're going to have issues. Your customers are not going to be happy. So there's sensible ways of going about doing work. And I often say, just have an agile mindset. Even if you're doing a predictive project, still have an agile mindset. It's going to pay off at the end of the day. It's been proven. It's been proven in research. All right, so here is the very first Agile Manifesto value. So it says, we're uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. And through this work, we have come to value. Here's the first one. Come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Now, I want to make this as brain-friendly as possible. And because I want to make it brain-friendly, I will share certain images to help the information stick. This session is really more for people who have never encountered the world of Agile in depth, at least the Agile Manifesto values and principles. So here's your first image: individuals and interactions over processes and tools. It didn't say individuals and interactions instead of processes and tools. You get that? Because some folks get it wrong. Some people think, oh, those agile people, they're saying forget about processes and tools. No, that's not what it says. It just says value. See the word? That's the magic word right there, my friends. Value, value, right? Place value. It's like, as a human, what do you value on planet Earth? If there was one thing on planet Earth you needed to survive, what would it be? And I ask this question all the time, and some people say food, but it's not food. You can survive longer with water than with food. So I say through my being on planet Earth, I've come to value water over food. Now the running joke is, don't say I don't value food, because I do. I just value water more. You get that? So the idea is a mindset of valuing people and how they interact, people and giving them a forum to discuss, people and allowing them to do what humans do. Humans are great at interacting with each other. It's wired in our DNA. If we give people enough time to interact and to be productive together, then they'll do a lot better job with the processes and tools they're given. Okay? All right. So that is the very first value in the Agile Manifesto. Again, going down to agilemanifesto.org and you'll be able to download the entire thing. All right, let's go to the second one here. And the second one just says working software. We've come to value working software over comprehensive documentation. Now, let me ask you this. What do you think comprehensive documentation means, or what do you think it looks like? You know, there's a way of making documentation efficient, and there's a way of making documentation laborious. So there's nothing wrong in documentation. Let's get that straight. But what good is a big old pile of documents if you do not have a working product? Again, it's a value mentality. Value. What do you value? Do you value a broken down jalopy, or do you value a document that is big and redundant? Neither. What you would value is if this was a working product, right? Then you'd be able to use the big old documentation. So again, it's a mind shift, right? Focusing on what is important. Working software, working product. You can see I made the word product stand out because software is not the only thing we can use this way of thinking for. So working software over comprehensive documentation. Again, it's a mindset. It's a shift in mind. All right, let's move on. Moving on to the next one. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Again, it's a state of mind. Would you rather collaborate with the customer to find a way forward, or would you rather negotiate? Now, we're not saying negotiation is bad. We're just saying what you place value on. So if you're thinking collaboration coming into a negotiation, well, what's going to happen? You are likely to get further ahead in the negotiation if you come in with the right mindset. Okay? So the comic strip says it all. You know, in negotiations, it's not uncommon to find one party trying to win over another. And they've got these gotcha clauses and the small print. And sad to say, a lot of companies are like this. A lot of companies, they're all out to bamboozle the little guy, get him to sign the dotted line, and then they stiff him at the end of the day. No, that's a very poor mindset. And it's sad that Several businesses are like that, but that's not our model. Our model needs to be more humanistic. It's all about collaboration. Let me work with the customer. Imagine going to your favorite Starbucks and ordering, let's say you normally order a number 7. On this particular day, you drive up to the drive-through and there's a slip of tongue and you order a number 3, or that's what they hear. You get to the window and they give you a number 3, and the number 3 is nothing like what you order. You always order something totally different. And instead of them working with you, they're like, no, that's what you ordered. You ordered number 3. Now get out of here. How horrible. But it's amazing that some businesses, that's their model. They don't want to work with the customer. They go by what the contract says. And that's a poor mindset. We don't want to be like that. All right. For those of you just coming, we're taking a look at the Agile Manifesto, the values and the principles, and we're on to value number 4. This is one of my favorites because it is where the quote from Mike Tyson comes in. Everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face. Everyone's talking about what they're going to do until crazy COVID comes on the scene and they're like, oh, I guess we can't build that 10-story structure anymore. I guess it's curtains for us now. No, just respond to the change. Just don't build. Just don't build. Do something else. Pivot to the world around you. That's the idea. So, my friends, responding to change over following a plan, I want to give you a visual for this one. Can you imagine walking by a street of opportunity? Let's say you're on your way to a busy, very important meeting, but then you see opportunity and you're like, no, we got to follow the plan. There's an opportunity for you to make a windfall. No, we're going to follow the plan. There's an opportunity for you to learn what could be life-changing. No, we're going to follow the plan. You see, they're going to be some people are going to be like the guy on the left. The guy on the left sees the opportunity. He's being agile. He seizes the opportunity, dives headfirst into the water of opportunity. But you have the zombie who says, no, I got to follow the plan. I must follow the plan. Now, there's a place for the plan, but there's a place to ditch the plan. There's a place to modify the plan. There's a place to kick out the plan. The problem with a lot of folks is they're not agile, so they miss the opportunity because they're so focused on the plan that at the end of the day, it probably will need to change anyway. So value responding to change. If you were a CEO and you heard that one of your team members bypassed an opportunity for a windfall because they were following a plan for peanuts, how would you feel? A plan for peanuts? You got to be smart. Honestly, so when I think about agile, I just think that's equal to being smart. It's being equal to being smart, right? So those are the 4 values. We've just looked at the 4 values, and if you have any questions about any of this, let me know. Again, agile is a mind shift. It's a mind state. It's a mindset. And, let's not get it twisted. When we say mindset, we're not saying your mind is set never to change. It's the opposite. It's a mind state of being nimble. So we're not saying be rigid. It's the opposite. We're saying have a flexible mind. Okay? Very good. For those of my friends who are out there, I know some of you are getting ready for this PMP exam and you're like, well, Phil, this is just the beginning. There's a lot more difficult fish to fry. I understand. And that's why I've got you covered. For those of you who are getting ready for the PMP or the ACP, which, by the way, will be changing. I won't talk about that right now. But all I'll say is if you want to get ACP certified, now is the time to jump on the wagon because the exam's going to change and they're going to bring in some other ingredients from the world of DA, disciplined agile. We'll talk about that another day. If you go to the Agile Raw and Uncut podcast, you can hear what my buddy Roy and I have to say about that, about the whole discipline agile thing. But we won't go into that today. We'll just keep moving on to the principles. But if you are looking to take the exam and you're looking for training and coaching, go to Agile Aficionado, agileaficionado.com. All right, let's go into the principles behind the Agile Manifesto. The principles. So, what do the principles say? There are 12 principles. And as usual, I will illuminate them with a little bit of imagery, a little bit of color. Again, the principles are more on the tactile side. It's now getting down to your day to day and giving you, as it were, a vision, a blueprint of how to be agile, right? How to be agile indeed, not just to, some people are just doing agile, and you got to do it, but you got to think it. And if you're not thinking it and you're doing agile, you're not going to be agile. It's that simple. All right, so let's go to the first one. Number one, again, a shift in mind. It says, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Now, I want to take the liberty here to remind you to think product. You don't just want to say software, because, like I said, the world has moved on since 2001. Everyone's found that, almost everyone has found that the Agile Manifesto values and principles are so awesome. So, I mean, it could be used anywhere, even in the food business. In this humorous comic strip here, it says, dear customer, you're my number one priority, and I have more delicious food for you. You're looking to satisfy the customer. That's your definite chief aim, right? In this world of agile, satisfying the customer with early. So let's break down these words. These words are not for nothing. Early and continuous. Why do we want it to be early? Well, we want to deliver early because our customer may need an early delivery of value to immediately begin to get additional value from the value we deliver. For example, if you're working on a system and you are looking to do all 20 modules, it's not a bad idea, but what if you delivered one module so your customer could begin getting value from that, and you delivered a second module and they are already seeing a difference? They're already tapping into the value instead of waiting to the end of the 12-month project, like some people do in predictive. And maybe there's a reason for that. I don't begrudge those who need to do that, but you always want to be on the lookout. Can we deliver earlier? Could we deliver a piece earlier? I remember when I was at Citigroup way back in the early 2000s at Canary Wharf in London, we moved into the building, but we didn't wait until all the 30 plus floors were built in that tower, 33 Canada Square. What we did was begin to move in bit by bit. So while they were still building out the top, we, records management people, service people, we'd already moved in. And that's early, right? And then continuous. We want that flow to continue. Contrary to how it is in the world of predictive, where things just happen, boom, one time, and then it's over. In the world of agile, it's not always a one-time thing. This could continue for years. It could continue for years. It could continue for weeks. It could continue for months. It could be a one-time thing, but it could continue. And this is where the agile mindset is very different. In your spare time, just read a little bit about DevOps, and then you'll understand the dynamic there. Development and operations. We develop, but then we help manage and sustain the thing. So when we talk about continuous delivery, it shouldn't be strange in this world of agile. We want to keep that value flow on. All right, I think you get the idea. Let's move on to number two. Principle number two. And it states, welcome changing requirements. Uh-oh. Now, I know that's one that some people are not very happy about, the word changing requirements, because it sounds like drudgery, especially in the world of predictive, but that's not how we are in the world of agile. Let's read what it says. Welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change. Oh, we can actually take advantage of change? Yeah, you can harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Yeah. So when you harness change for the customer's competitive advantage, you're putting them ahead of others. In this humorous comic strip here, I need to change my order. Talk about change orders in predictive. You won't be a favored team member if you're always doing that. But in the world of Agile, yeah, I know it's the 99th hour, but I need a Himalayan spinach salad, please. And the waiter's cool. Waiter says, sure. And that's the way we think in the world of Agile. It's like, okay, let's take a look. Let's see. We don't shoot the messenger. We don't shut the person asking down without some sort of collaboration to see how we can make it happen. So again, it's a mindset. It's a mind shift, right? Mind shift from, oh, we got to do this big old change request. How to go through change control board. And again, I say that in jest, but I don't diminish the importance of the change control board. It's just a different way of thinking. I've been in companies where we did the change board all day long, and it has its place. But this world of Agile is a different one. All right, let's move to our next one. Number 3. We're going to pick up the pace here a little bit. Deliver working software frequently. Again, that word software, I want you to think about the word product. All right, product, service, result. Product, service, result. Doesn't have to be software alone. Okay. Deliver working product frequently. What's all this frequent stuff about? Why frequently? Why a couple of weeks to a couple of months with a preference to show the time scale? Why? A picture is worth 1,000 words. So let's look at this humorous picture here. So they got it. They got everything locked and loaded. They're just delivering it. Wow, another delivery. Now think about how happy your customer would be if you delivered working products frequently. How happy you are when you see features in your favorite software tool. More great features. But why a couple of weeks to a couple of months? What's the big deal with that 2 weeks to 8 weeks? Well, if you stretch it beyond that, things become rather laborious and you probably will end up losing some of your stakeholders' attention, some of their engagement. A couple of weeks is quite common in industry to finish a sprint, but this is not saying every sprint you must deliver. No, but it's suggesting a preference to the shorter time scale. Couple of months, wow, that's 2 months. While it may look short on a predictive project, on an agile project, that's a long time. When you deliver working product frequently, there's value, there's time for feedback from the customer, there's time for engagement, and you want that continuous cycle. You don't want a big break and then, starts and fits. You don't want that. So a couple of weeks is great because it allows you to get feedback, allows the engagement, and that's why there's a preference to the shorter time scale. All right, for those of you who are just coming, we're going all out, taking a look at the Agile Manifesto. Let me go ahead and put the Agile Manifesto principles link in there. I just realized I hadn't done that for you. Let's put that in the chat. agilemanifesto.org. Okay. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. This video will be up for those who, I know some of you still at work. My friends on PST time zone, I understand. All right. So that was number 3. Let's go on to number 4. Number 4 is business people and developers must work together. And they must work together daily. I often joke about how my buddy Roy's my agile coach for those of you who have seen us together teaching this stuff. But my buddy Roy and I were training a company that they will remain nameless to protect the innocent. We're training this company, and one guy, on seeing this, got active and animated. And he said, "Why do we have to work together with the business? I can't stand my marketing people." I almost said, "That's your problem, buddy," but I didn't. I was nice. I said, in the world of agile, there is a role that is often referred to as the product owner in a lot of the agile frameworks. And this could be an archetype of the mouth or the voice of the customer. And that person works as part of the team. We're not saying you're confined to work with the business forever. No, product owner. The product owner, we often refer to the product owner as the chief value officer because they know the business. They know what the business wants. So they're a mouthpiece. So when we say you got to work together daily, right? We're not saying literally be in the same room, stuck with the marketing team, stuck with the accounting team. That's not what we're saying. Okay. But think about it. Why should the developers and the business people collaborate frequently and work together daily as much as they need to? That's the magic word there, cooperation. Why is that? Because we work in sprints in the world of agile. And sprints, as you witnessed from our last reading, we want our delivery to be a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So if we're thinking like that, we can have sprint 1 for 2 weeks plus sprint 2 for another 2 weeks plus sprint 3. And you could have some kind of output. Or you could have sprint 4 and keep going till you actually release, right? There's a difference between having a shippable increment versus actually releasing it into the pipeline of production. So you need to think about that when we talk about working together daily. You work together daily, you get some output. That output could get refined. The iterations may refine it, and then it's released. But daily work is encouraged, right? We want people to have access to the business people to ask questions. And like I said, the representative of the business is none other than the product owner. All right, let's move on, my friends. Build projects around motivated individuals. This one sounds like duh, but hey, some of you are in teams. You know the person next to you is so demotivated. Like, get me out of here, kind of demotivated. They are ready to leave the job tomorrow, which is sad. Which is why in the world of Agile, we want to hire adults. We want to hire people that can actually be left alone. people people that we don't need to babysit. Have you ever been in a job where you got a boss who is checking up on you 20 times a day? Nothing more annoying than that. In this world of agile, we don't want to do that. So we want to, as my mentor John Maxwell would say, we want to get the right people on the bus. We want to get the motivated individuals on the bus. And when they're on the bus, we want to put them in the right seats on the bus. And then we give them the environment, we give them the air conditioning. If you've lived in Arizona like I have, you know the 115 120 degree temperatures, those aren't good. No, you don't want that. You want it to be air conditioned in the 60s. I know some of you don't like the 60s, too cold. Okay, whatever is good for the team, give them the support they need and trust them to get the job done. Like, you don't need to babysit them. Just give them a good environment, give them the nurturing, give them the support, and away you go. Just get out of their way. You become what we call a roadblock remover. You become a servant leader. And that's what we're talking about. Give the team the environment support they need. One of the saddest things is in some organizations, the way management thinks, they got such a limiting belief that they want to clamp down on the team and restrict their movements. They want to treat them like kindergarten people. They, they want to browbeat them every second possible. And that's just not the agile mindset, which is why agile would not work in many draconian organizations, because the organization itself is built on distrust of their people. Is built on carrot and sticks. It's built on theory X instead of theory Y. It's built on Douglas McGregor's theory X, coercion, carrot and sticks. And even when they give bonuses, they give him bonuses because they think people are inherently lazy. They need motivation through bonuses. They're giving the bonuses for the wrong reason. Bonuses are good, but they shouldn't be given as a carrot and sticks or a belief that our people are so useless. Instead, we want a theory Y mindset, open arms, believing that people can work without supervision. So if you're going to talk about Douglas McGregor's theory Y, that's what Agile is all about. Theory X, we call that boss an impediment to the employee's morale. Theory Y, we call them a boost. You ever had a boss that was such a boost to your morale? You loved coming to work. I had a boss like that at Honeywell. A few days ago, I was just checking up, seeing how he was. I realized that he wasn't with us anymore. But what an awesome dude who got me in the right seat, got me in the right team at Honeywell. And because of him, I was able to slay that job, dominate. So a shout out to my former boss, Jim Schaefer, who's not with us anymore. But yeah, that's the kind of environment you want to build. You want to build an environment of trust. Now, I know for some of you who are already into this world, this is like old news to you. But I understand some of you who are new to the world of Agile, it's not about just software. It doesn't even need to have any software, which is why I'm taking time to break it down simply as possible and show you some imagery. So you remember some of these outrageous pictures, and then it'll stick. I want to give a shout out to my buddy who went through this training with me, Morgan, Mr. Morgan Pruitt, who is now a PMP today. Congratulations, Morgan. I am glad that our Agile Musings paid off and you're now a PMP. And we're going to have more adventures together with you coming alongside and helping others learn the world of Agile. All right. So this next one says the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. Do you agree or do you not agree? Some people are like, no, we don't agree. It's Zoom. Zoom is best. I can be in my jammies and be in my meeting. Well, I mean, there's a difference between convenience and effectiveness. Yes. One could be in their jammies all day and pretend to be in meetings. But as you can see in this image here, the idea was to convey how there could very easily be confusion, even on a virtual call with cameras. But if you're in the same room, the richness of the communication goes up. Now, this is one of the most contentious principles because I've taught this in different classes, and the argument is always no, Phil. I am not going to agree that the most effective, the most efficient method is face to face. And it's usually my friends who are developers. They say, Phil, we all need to be seeing the same screen at the same time and looking at certain code or certain information, and we need to edit that together. If we're all in a room together, it wouldn't work very well. But if we're geographically dispersed, it could be very efficient to just put a comment in Zoom and for the facilitator to understand what we were saying and take it on a case-by-case basis. And I understand that. You got to remember, in 2001, we didn't have Zoom. We didn't have Zoom, and we didn't have this medium. Keep that in mind, my friends. So you can take it with a pinch of salt, but I think you get the idea. Most efficient and effective method, especially when there just needs to be an observation of the body language. Have you heard about Professor Emeritus Albert Mehrabian from UCLA who did an experiment, and he realized that when you're communicating and the communication doesn't check all the boxes, right? So you got the body language, you got the tone of voice, and you got the words, right? Imagine you're communicating with me and I say, "Yeah, I'm really happy to be here training this class." Now, let me take my glasses off for a second. "I'm really happy to be here training this class." Don't I sound and look happy? So what did you do? You immediately judged my body language. 55%. Boom. You said, "Nah, that guy doesn't sound happy. He doesn't look happy." Right? So you did the tone of voice, that weighed in 38%, and the words, "talk is cheap." You didn't even consider what I was saying because the words were not in alignment. And that's what Professor Emeritus Albert Mehrabian was saying when you're communicating and some of the numbers are missing, right? My buddy Rick Brinkman, who wrote the book Dealing with People You Can't Stand, he said communication is like a phone number. If they're missing digits, your call isn't going to go through. The missing digits in the body language, if that is missing, you got big problems. So when we talk about face to face, we're not saying that Zoom isn't effective or other means aren't effective. We're just saying that face to face goes a long way. All right, let's move on from there and go to the next one. All right. Think you get the idea. We can argue about that all day long. I know that's one I can't win. I'm not looking to win though. I just looking to illuminate your minds as far as what the manifesto says. Okay, don't shoot the messenger. I didn't write it. Ask my buddy Alistair. Alistair Coburn was one of the people that wrote it. Go to Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland. Go wrestle with them. All right. Working software is the primary measure of progress. So in this world of agile, we kind of roll a little bit differently. You see, in the world of predictive, we're so into the percent completes, aren't we? Percent complete. This used to be the story of my life in previous employments. The big old, you got the big old schedule and you got the tasks, and then you got the Gantt charts, right? The big old Gantt chart, and you got all those dependencies and names. In the world of agile, ain't nobody doing that. And then we'll say, "Oh, this is 90% complete, this is 20% complete, this," and I'm not begrudging it. I got certified in that stuff. I did the MCTS, love Microsoft Project, use it till the cows come home. But in the world of Agile, my friends, this is no, it's a zero. We don't do that. Why don't we do that? Well, think about a team that's doing things in 2 week sprints. Where's the place for percent complete when you got one Friday and then you got another Friday, you got one Monday and another Monday? You ain't got time for all this. As those of you who come to my class on Saturday on the 21st, because I've got the power review, go to agileaficionado.com. I'm going to be teaching you a lot of this stuff for those of you, especially who are taking a PMP and an ACP. But you got to understand that it's either done in this world of Agile, it's either done or it's not, right? It's either done or it's not done. It's very simple. And the reason why it's like that is we ain't even got time to do the whole, "Oh, we're 2%, 3%. No, before you know it, you're at the end of the sprint. So when you are making that commitment to pick any of those stories or requirements or work pieces to be done, when you're pulling that to yourself in this world of Agile, you got to make sure that you can get it done, right? We talk about being honest. You got to be honest. So working software is a primary measure of progress. We're measuring progress by, is it done and does it work? All right. And of course, if it is truly done, then it should work. Okay. So you get the idea. All right. So we think a little bit differently in this world. You as the developer, because we use that word a lot in the world of Agile, That is not to say that we are developing software. So let's talk about this for a second, because this is a word that is used a lot in the world of Agile. A developer could be a cake baker on a cake baking project. A developer could be a technical writer. A developer could be an artist, could be a graphic artist, could be a doctor, right? Could be in a court of law, could be a lawyer, right? And I've had some lawyers who come through and gotten certified in some of these agile things. It actually does make work very, very streamlined and better, because if you're in a turbulent world of complexity, you need agile. That, I mean, agile was like tailor-made for the world of chaos. When you think about why we need agile, the case study can be thought of like this. Think about your requirements. Requirements, certainty. If you're certain about requirements, right, you're somewhere up here. If you're not certain about requirements, you're somewhere down here, right? And the recipe to reverse engineer this, we're going to call this requirements uncertainty. So I want you to think counter, right? Requirements uncertainty. If your requirements uncertainty is low, in other words, you are certain, then you're here. Think about technical uncertainty. If in terms of the technicality, you've got a good idea of what you're doing, then you're also here in this region. This is the business case for predictive kind of stuff, because there's very low uncertainty, right? But as you begin to move into higher levels of uncertainty, you find yourself in this region, and ultimately the region of chaos or anarchy. The idea is that if you are in these regions, the more you venture towards these turbulent regions, the more you need agile. Now, chaos is, there's just no business case for that. That's awful. What we want people to do is bring some level of sensibilities, bring it down into this region. And the way you do that is by tackling the work piecemeal, by doing things more in iterations, and then you can bring things more into a manageable area of what we would call the complex zone. So I would advise, if you haven't taken a look at this model, it's there in our Agile Practice Guide. I'm going to open the Agile Practice Guide for a second. I know some of you have been reading this, and more power to you. If you've been reading it, it's a good thing. This is going to help you understand Agile more. Don't forget, PMI partnered with the Agile Alliance when they wrote this. So if you follow me, I believe the page is 14. Is it 14? Yep, there we go. So on page 14, we have an image, pretty much the image I drew just now. This image right here, you can't see too well. But this is called the Stacy model. It's called the Stacy complexity model. And it pretty much just shows you what I've been talking about, the business case to use this way of thinking, right? This agile way of thinking. All right, so for those of you who are just coming, we are taking a look at the Agile Manifesto values and principles. And we just took a look at working software is a primary measure of progress. And I was explaining the business case for Agile using the Stacy model. Now we're done with that, let's move back into the rest of the manifesto. So the next one, the next Agile principle is Agile processes promote sustainable development. Going to put that on screen now, and it says the sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. So let's talk about this. What do we mean by Agile processes promote sustainable development. What we mean is, for the long haul, the developers, the sponsors, and the users should maintain a constant pace. It didn't say a fast pace. Some people incorrectly read this as saying a fast pace. No, sustainable pace. Remember the story of the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise was slow, but consistent. The hare was a speed demon, right? And the hare ran out of gas. So in this world of agile, it's not so much about fast pace, it's about sustainable pace. And it's all because we want to be true to the ideas of using empirical information, empirical data, empiricism. So we're going to go off our track record of the past to predict the future. But if we've got some crazily high amount of work done because we're cramming in tons of overtime, that's not repeatable. That's not sustainable. See? So that's not how we want to think. In the world of agile, we want to make sure we can sustain our pace. So we promote sustainable development and we want the users to maintain a constant pace. So if you can work 30 hours a week, that's sustainable. Someone says, Phil, I do 80 hours a week. That's hard. That's actually, is that sustainable? I would say it's not. You're gonna have burnout. So this one, I call this the don't kill the team principle. Don't kill the team. Leave the work for tomorrow. I often tell the story of someone who my buddy Roy knew. It's sad, but this individual had a heart attack and died at work. And they opened for business the next day. It's not worth it. Have some work-life balance. That's all this is saying, pretty much, right? We're very big on work-life balance in the world of Agile. All right, let's move on, my friends. Let's move on to the next one. And this one is all about technical excellence and good design. I really want to make it clear, when you hear the words technical excellence or good design and things like that, it doesn't have to be about software, right? We have designers in the world of architecture. We have designers in the world of interior design. We have designers in the world of art and aesthetics, right? So when we talk about technical excellence, don't immediately think, oh, it's IT again. No, it doesn't have to be IT again. Okay, now, why would this enhance agility? For those of you that have the book written by the Agile Alliance and the PMI, there's an image here that tells a very easy to understand story. And the image looks something like this. You got this bubble, and then you got lean, right? The world of lean. And you have Kanban, and then you have Agile. And then you have the tiny little other frameworks like Scrum, like FDD, like Scrumban. But what can we infer from this? Agile and Kanban are subsets of lean. So the lean movement is part and parcel of how we act and think in an agile environment. Okay. So what do we mean when we say lean? We're talking about continuous improvement. We're talking about a process designed to increase efficiency and horsepower. We're talking about value. We're talking about value stream mapping, topics like the 7 wastes. We're talking about flow. We're talking about pull. We're talking about perfection. And honestly, lean has many influences: leadership, practices and principles around team structures and team process and process visualization, and the whole idea of elimination. That's a big word. We want to eliminate waste. We want to save the team a whole lot of fan cleaning. Design soundly and cut once, and there's not going to be any waste. But if your design is crummy, you're going to cut 1,000 times and have a lot of scrap, a lot of rework. So when you pay attention to being technically excellent and you got a solid design, you are enhancing agility. Great Steve Jobs, rest his soul, he said, design is not what it looks like. Design is not what it feels like. Design is how it works. And you got to take a step back and say, how is this thing going to work? Whether you are writing a book, whether you are preparing a course, whether you are preparing a speech, there are elements of technical excellence in it. And that makes you agile. So contrary to a lot of the thinking that's like, oh, in order to be agile, you gotta do software. That's not true. Not true. Not true. Okay. Let's move on. This next one is one of my favorites because it requires some thinking to even remotely understand what they're saying here. So let's read it together. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. You see, maximizing the amount of work not done is an art. And a lot of folks are good at cutting out the crud. And cutting out the crud is what this is all about. Maximize the crud cut. Cut the crud. Don't just cut a little bit of the crud, all the crud. Be aggressive. That's what we call being lean. We call it cutting out the muda, right? The waste. That's what we call it in the world of quality. So the general idea is keep it simple, sir. Keep it simple, sister. You see all those tasks that they cut out, all the stuff that they didn't do, plus the airplane, the flight to who knows where, they cut it all out. And what we're saying in the world of Agile is this is essential to maximize the amount of fats that you cut out. Someone says, well, Phil, it's saying don't do work. Yeah, don't do busy work. There's productive work, there's essential work, and there's busy work. Why do you want to do the busy work? This just says don't do the busy work. All right, let's move on. We've only got a couple left. And this is another really powerful one that supports the idea of an autonomous team. Like in the world of Agile, one of the things we gravitate towards is team autonomy. Team autonomy. Give that team space. Give them an environment and support. And they're going to come out with wowing designs, great architectures, even requirements. The best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. There's no boss breathing down their neck. Who is the boss? They're the boss. It's a self-organizing, self-led, self-managed team. Each person on the team identifies, I'm a leader. You hold me accountable as a team member. I hold you accountable as a team member. We all have that mutual accountability. That's why we call the Agile team the mutual accountability society. We hold each other accountable and it works. The boss isn't breathing down your neck telling you what to do, when to go for break, and all the minutia, right? In the world of predictive, we generally have rank and file, but in this world of Agile, it's not the case. You could think of it as a flat structure where every entity there has some say in how things are done. because we are all leading together, right? Self-organizing, self-managed, self-led. That is not to say that it's a free for all and they don't report to management. They do. But in terms of getting the work done, these folks, they decide what done means, right? These folks decide on the social contract or the ground rules, if you will, right? The team contracts, they have one. They decide how to resolve conflict, how to make decisions, group decision making techniques. It's not one person saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. And there's a place for that. Don't get me wrong, right? There's a place for that. A lot of militaries, that's a style, and it just makes sense. But in this world of developing products, self organizing teams is a great way to go. All right, my friends, you've almost completed this hour with your buddy Phil. I just put in some finishing touches to the Agile Manifesto here. And the final one, final one. Here we go. This says at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective. That's a no-brainer. I know a lot of you already do that. You're always asking the question, what can I do to be better? What can I do to take the ante up? And that's it. How can we improve? How can we be better? Can we build a better mousetrap? If so, how can we? What can we do differently right now, right? This is often called a retrospective. All one word, of course. Retrospective. Let me write it out properly. Retrospective. Hello, my buddy Ron. I just saw Ron jump on. Thank you, Ron, for coming through. I just saw your message. I was so busy yakking away. Thank you, Ron. Ron says, trust is essential to your success. It may be hard, but it's worth it. Absolutely, Ron. That is true. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate you coming through. Thank you so much. And thank you for the comment. Very much appreciated. Thank you. All right. Well, my friends, the retrospective is the formal construct, right? That's the formal event, if you will, in the world of Agile. But we shouldn't only retrospect in the retrospective. We should retrospect everywhere. Retrospect on your own as an individual. You don't have to retrospect only in a retrospective. You get what I'm saying? You could retrospect at the end of the day. You could retrospect at the end of the week. You could retrospect on your own. It doesn't have to be a prescriptive retrospective. In other constructs in the world of Agile, we retrospect ad hoc. If we need to, we're going to have a retrospective. Just remember the difference between a retrospective and a lessons learned, because it's a common question I get. A lessons learned could be public information. Once the lessons learned is done and the information is cataloged, you could very well have team members sharing what happened, who did what, the mistakes that were made, who made the mistake. We don't do that here, right? We call this Agile Vegas. Whatever happens in Vegas stays there. Whatever happens in a retrospective stays in a retrospective. That's the general idea, my friends. All right, over the past 1 hour, one full hour, we have been covering the world of Agile. We started off with the ABCs, the attitudes, behavior, the culture. Then we went into the Agile Manifesto. Then we talked about individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working product over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. Then we got into the fun principles. And I gave you a whole lot of imagery. And honestly, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if I can give you an image that will stick in your head, I know that it will be far reaching. And that's why I'm showing you these images all over again. So our highest priority is to satisfy the customer, welcome changes even late in development, deliver working product frequently. Business people and developers should work together daily. build projects around motivated individuals, face-to-face conversation. We had a discussion on that one. Working products is a primary measure of progress. And then I talked about the Stacy complexity model for a bit. And then we got into agile processes promote sustainable development. Talked about continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. Talked about keeping things simple, simplicity. Cut out the muda. The best architectures, requirements, and designs are from self-organizing teams. And we talked about the retrospective. And you don't have to wait till the retrospective to retrospect. All right, my friends, that's all I have for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this helpful, useful. And I am encouraging questions. Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, even after the fact, most times I swing by and check on whatever questions come up, and I will answer them even afterwards. Okay? So thank you very much for coming through. Those of you who did, I know a lot of people jumped in and out because of work and all the, after work routine and so on. And I appreciate you coming through. Okay. Thank you all very much. I look forward to having this discussion maybe again sometime soon. Those of you taking the PMP exam, remember the 21st of September, I have the Agile Power Review. This is where we are going to be covering the Agile Practice Guide inside out. It's going to be a half-day boot camp, 4 hours. We're also going to take apart the world of Scrum, get a little bit more into Scrum. I'm going to just give you the Agile mindset, the Agile blueprint that you need specifically for these exams that you are seeing on the screen here. The PMP exam and the ACP exam. What exactly is Agile? You might have heard the term Agile, but what exactly does it mean? That's what we're going to study today. When you hear Agile, I want you to think about a foundational concept. Think about a foundational concept of a person being nimble in mind, to be able to make a mind shift, to be able to rapidly move from a current state to a future state, and rapidly and nimbly. The reason why you should be agile is the landscape in the world around you is changing very rapidly. So I often say agile is primarily a mindset, a philosophy that, when enabled through your thinking first, enables you to act. It's supposed to be the brain. If you don't have an agile mindset, you will find it hard to act. That's why in the world of Agile, we say the ability to pivot. And we often say pivot, in other words, move or persevere. Pivot or persevere, depending on how things are working for you in your current environment. So Agile is a mindset that translates into actions. So it's like this. Agile starts off with a mindset. That mindset forms an attitude. That attitude galvanizes into behaviors. And ultimately, we want it to become a culture. We want Agile to be a culture. It starts off with the thinking. Agile isn't only about thinking. Agile is also about doing. So the attitude is important. It comes first. The behaviors form through the practicing of that mindset. And ultimately, it just becomes a second nature. So that's the foundation for Agile. Now, Agile, as we know it today, is formed squarely on philosophies. And the earliest documentation of calling these Agile was in the Agile Manifesto back in 2001. And the Agile Manifesto simply states that through the work of carrying out software development projects and other types of projects, the writers said they have come to value people, individuals, and interactions over processes and tools. The processes and tools are good, but if you have a poor mindset, you could have all the tools in the world and still have a crummy team. So our philosophy, a mindset needs to be one of valuing. We're not saying tools and processes are not important, but we have to value the people more than the tools, because the people work the tools, right? If you want the tools to be used at their optimum, work on valuing the people, giving the people a forum to speak and to share ideas. Another one is working software over comprehensive documentation. Remember, we're talking about valuation here. Valuation. We're not saying that documentation is bad. We're just saying we value having a working product over comprehensive documentation. Sometimes the deliverable is documentation. So we're not saying the documentation is bad. We're just talking about what we value most. It didn't say working product instead of documentation, because at times you need the documentation to even know how to work the tool. But it's one of value. If you don't have a working product, your documentation can't help you. If you do have a working product, then the documentation can help you. So again, it's all philosophy, it's all perspective. Moving on here, my friends. Next, we have customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Again, we are talking about value. You got to value the customer. Value the customer and the stakeholders. And when you choose to collaborate over negotiate, it's a good mind state, because when you focus on the value of collaborating with the customer over negotiating and saying, hey, this is what the contract said, so we're not going to do this. Instead of doing that, you want to understand where the customer is coming from. You want to ask the question, how can we get you to your success state? What does that look like? No matter how many times it changes, a mindset needs to be one of openness to that concept. Okay. Next, we have responding to change over following a plan. So what exactly are we saying here? The great Mike Tyson, he says, everyone has a plan until they're punched in the mouth. So we got to value responding to change, responding to ambiguity, complexity, craziness. We got to value that over having a plan, responding to change over following a plan. And having a plan is not bad, but following the plan rigidly when the marketplace is radically changing or the world around you is radically shifting makes no sense. It is better to respond to change, just like when the crazy pandemic hit, a lot of businesses went under because they were not able to respond to the madness around them. So when you think about the Agile Manifesto values, it just helps us better see. But we don't stop at the values, we also have principles. We have 12 principles in the Agile Manifesto. And the very first principle, it just says, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer. Satisfy the customer. And how are we going to do that? The manifesto says through early and continuous delivery of valuable product. So again, this is what we want to put into our daily work. We got to make it a priority. We want to understand the concept of continuously delivering value, as that will delight our customer. And that is the very first one of them all. If you go to agilemanifesto.org, you'll be able to see the full list of the Agile Manifesto values and principles. But let's talk about the second one here. The second one, I'm going to put it on the screen for you. And it just says that we should welcome changing requirements, even late in development. And it says agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. We should welcome changing requirements, even if it's late in development. You know, some folks, they get mad when their customers bring change requests in late. But the Agile Manifesto is challenging that thought, is letting us know that these processes, agile processes, harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. It's a last minute change, but it's going to add tremendous value to our customer. Why do we want to prohibit that? You see, it's a different mindset than that we have in other frameworks and work approaches. Okay, so that was number 2. Let's go to number 3. Number 3, it just says deliver working software frequently. And again, you got to understand that this is a perspective. Deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to a shorter time scale. Why do we want a shorter time scale is a question. Because if we spread out our delivery too far out, market conditions could change, the customer could be disengaged, and because we're working in sprints, change is fluid and expected. But this isn't talking about ending the sprint, it's talking about delivery. Delivery could be sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, deliver. And what this is saying is a couple of weeks, which typically could be a 1 sprint, to a couple of months, which would be 8 weeks, which could be 4 sprints. And it's saying with a preference to the shorter time scale. If you could do that every 2 weeks, that's fine. Not more than 2 months. And we prefer the shorter time scale, like I said. Not only do you want to get value quick, you don't want your customer to be disengaged. And the cycle of improvements, it just makes sense to do things in shorter cycles in this agile world of ours. Now, in the world of predictive, you can argue and say, no, we can't do it in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It's got to be a year. And that's understandable, but as much as possible, you want to have that agile mindset to always look for opportunities to do things quicker, to do things so your customer can get the value earlier. There's something we call cost of delay in Agile, and we want to be aware of that. There's a cost for delaying delivering that product, and we don't want that to be too high. Business people and developers, this is the next one, must work together daily throughout the project. My buddy Roy and I were teaching an Agile course once, and we had someone who was really upset about this. And he said, I don't like the marketing team. I don't want to work with them daily. They're horrible. And I said, that's not the mindset that we want to generate in this world of Agile. I didn't say that clearly, but we realized he needed a little bit of help. He said, yeah, that is an attitude, no problem. But when we say business people and developers, we kind of laughed and we said the business people being spoken about refers to people on the side of the functional organizational department that have a need. And guess who is their representative? It's a product owner. And the product owner is meant to be part of the team. So it's not like you're in a sentence, a life sentence, to work with people you don't want to. First of all, we must have a positive mental attitude, right? We must be transparent and try to move any obstacles preventing us from working with people. But we want to work together because teamwork makes the dream work. None of us is as smart as all of us, as the saying goes. So it needs to be a mindset of working together to get value done. Okay. So the product owner is the business representative, and they communicate the ideas that the business has. And we want to work daily, right, with our product owner. Some teams are very mature and may not need the product owner support as much, but younger teams who are just learning the product and learning the business, they may need more product ownership presence daily. All right. The next Agile Manifesto principle states, build projects around motivated individuals. Now, this might sound funny to some people because some people are like, Phil, we of course will build around motivated people. Would you build around an unmotivated person? And I say, yeah, but it's not a no-brainer because some managements, they forget that they hired good people, right? So what we're saying is, once you build around the right people, water the team just like a plant, give them the support they need, trust them to get the job done, and they're going to knock it out of the park. They're going to get stuff done beyond the wildest dreams of the management. Management's going to be like, wow, I'm glad we got out of your way and let you get your work done. So we want to create a supportive environment. We want to create a place where the team feels safe. We want to create the ideas of being able to retreat for quiet so you can work and develop, being a transparent team where no one is going to be browbeaten for speaking the truth or speaking their mind, but we want to get out of their way. We want to trust them to get the job done. So again, it's a principle. You can see that it's very humanistic and very mind-driven. All right. The next one is very straightforward, and this is all about face-to-face communication. Now, some people, they argue, and I've had classes where I'm teaching this and people say, no, I don't agree. It's not face-to-face. That's the most effective way of communicating. It's Zoom. And I laugh because I understand what they're saying. What they're saying is, well, my team and I, we use Zoom and everybody needs to be seeing the screen at the same time so they can write the code together. And I'm like, I understand. But under most circumstances, when you meet face to face, the communication is richer. Have you ever heard of the 55-38-7? And this is from Professor Emeritus Albert Moravian, where there's high stakes communication and the message between the words, the tone of voice, and the body language is not congruent. people immediately gravitate more to the body language. Body language becomes huge in what people are looking for. Words would be a mere 7% in such high stakes communication where there's not congruent communication. And then the tone of voice in situations where there's no congruence and it's high stakes communication, 38% will be the tone of voice. So if you're communicating and things are not adding up, people are going to gravitate more to the body language. And that's just a slight indicator of the importance of body language. Talk is cheap. Action speaks louder than words. Body language. You could be saying, I love you, but you got a frown on your face and your arms are folded and your fists curled into a tight ball. You run from that person no matter what they're saying. So face to face just goes a longer way. It helps pass the messages across the nonverbal cues. And in some circumstances, I understand Zoom and conference calls and so on. Some people might find those more helpful, but under most circumstances, we're talking about the efficient and effective method that people should gravitate towards is face to face. It's so content rich. But anyway, let's move on from that and let's move on to the next one. And the next one, it simply says, a working product is a primary measure of progress in this world of Agile. It's all about what have you accomplished? Is it done? Not percent complete. Because if it's not done in this world of Agile, if it's not done, it ain't done. It ain't done. And this is the primary measure for our progress in Agile because, we do things in these 2-week sprints. And if in a 2-week sprint, the work isn't finished, it's not done, nobody cares that you are 99% done. This means nothing in the world of Agile. We don't do percent completes. It's either done or it's not done, right? And that's why at the beginning of every sprint, we commit to undertaking a certain amount of work with a view to getting it done. So the question isn't what percent complete are you in this world of Agile? It's, are you done? And sometimes we have to clarify, are you done? Not just, I wrote the code. Well, has it been peer reviewed? Has it been tested? Has it been unit tested? And so on and so forth. All right. I hope this stuff is making sense to you so far. If it is, do me a favor, smash the like button. And if you have any comments about the Agile Manifesto or questions, feel free to drop them below. All right, let's move on to the next one. Next one states, Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Note the word. This is a tricky one because some people will see a totally different word. I want you to see the word here. The word is constant pace. Constant pace. That's the word. That's the magic word, constant. It didn't say fast. Not fast. It's possible to have a constant fast pace, but it didn't say fast pace. It said constant. And constant could be medium, it could be slow, it could be fast. So what are we saying? We're saying that when you commit to doing work as a team, don't be a speed demon. Don't try to bite off more than you can chew. I just call this the don't kill the team principle. And the don't kill the team principle means let the team work at a pace they can sustain, realistically speaking. Don't go say, oh, we can do 200 when the team has never even done 100. Oh, we'll just make them do overtime. No, we don't subscribe to that readily in the world of Agile because it skews our metrics. It skews some of the metrics we use in our burn up or burn down charts, in our velocity. So that's a general idea. Okay. So we are over the halfway mark and we only have a few left. Let's move on to the very next one, my friends. Next in line, we have this one. It says continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. What are we saying? We're saying that when you pay attention to technical excellence, you save a whole lot of fan cleaning, because Agile is from the world of lean as well. And from that overarching lean thinking, we're trying to avoid waste. When you pay attention to being technically excellent, making things technically sound, designing stuff that is airtight, you are really enhancing agility. Because remember, Agile, again, is a mindset. In this world of Agile, one of the things we want to do is ensure that we are avoiding waste. Waste is not our friend. Okay. So we want to be lean. We want to be a lean and mean machine. And the way to be lean is to be technically excellent, make a good design once, and cut appropriately, and then you won't have so many concerns coming back and technical debt and defects and so on if you spend time being technically excellent. All right, Steve Jobs knew a thing or two about that. When you see those Apple designs, for those who want the Apple haters, because I know Apple has its haters, but you got to give it to Apple. They did spend some good time in being technically excellent and doing good design, and that's why they're kind of like the gold standard for the smartphone. I know my other friends who have the other phone, they won't like that, but it is what it is. Okay, let's move on. Simplicity. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. This is very hard for some people to understand, but it's like this. To keep it simple, cut out a ton of fat. There's a lot of stuff people do that's busy work, or is not needed, or it convolutes the situation, it convolutes the job. What we're saying here is keep it simple. Keep it simple, sir. Keep it simple, sister. How do you keep it simple? Cut out the fat. Maximize the work not done. So it's a shift in mindset. In some other methods, there's a lot of busy work, a lot of red tape, bureaucracy, and so on. Here in the world of Agile, we want to just keep it simple, sir. Keep it simple, sister. It's that simple. Okay, we got 2 left. The next one is all about self-organizing teams. And it simply states, the best architectures, the best requirements, and the best designs, they emerge from self-organizing teams. And we've talked about self-organizing teams already. We said, give the team the environment and support they need, trust them to get the job done. And it's true. When we truly believe that when we allow the team to self-organize, to be themselves, to innovate, we get the best solution. It's just a no-brainer. It's been proven time and time again. Self-organizing teams, they get the best, instead of having someone breathing down their necks, telling them how to do stuff. All right? Okay, my friends, here's our final view and principle 12. Principle 12 states that at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective. And then they tune and adjust their behavior accordingly. What is this referring to? This is referring to what we call the retrospective. A retrospective is where you look in the rearview mirror and you say, what went well? What didn't go so well? What are we going to improve on right now? What are we going to improve on the long term? long-term improvements, and so on and so forth. Going around the room, being honest, everyone sharing their perspective. And when you do that, the team has its marching orders and they understand, okay, this is what we're going to correct right away. Sometimes it's a mental correction. And other times it needs to be something more elaborate, more expansive. And there you have it, my friends. Over the past number of minutes, we covered the 12 Agile Manifesto principles. And in the very beginning, we also covered the concept of the values. So I said Agile is a mind state, it's a mindset. We talked about individuals and interactions over processes and tools, valuing working product, valuing collaboration, valuing responding to change. And then in the principles, we talked about welcoming change in requirements. We talked about the highest priority. First of all, that was the number one thing we talked about. And there's a reason why this is number one, because it's our highest priority to satisfy the customer. Then we talked about welcoming change in requirements, delivering working product frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. We talked about business people working together with the developers. We talked about building projects around a motivated team, talked about face-to-face conversation being important, working software being the primary measure of progress, agile processes promoting sustainable development, talked about being a lean and mean machine with technical excellence and good design, talked about keep it simple, sister, and talked about the best architectures, requirements, and designs coming from self-organizing teams. And then we talked about the retrospective. Well, there you have it, my friends. I hope you found value from this. If you did, do smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you again in another video. And whether you're taking, the CSM, this stuff is valuable for all the Agile certifications, CSM, PSM, ACP, so on and so forth. This is the foundation. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.